Hi everyone, welcome to the Movieception Show. My name is Fariba, and it's a very bright morning because I don't know about you guys, or I don't know if you've been living under a rock, but the Avengers Doomsday official trailer is here. It's here. I mean, if you've been following the news, the tickets, at least the first batch of tickets, not all the tickets, I think it's just the ones that are like premium format. But the first tickets are now out. I actually have been awake since 7:30 a.m. this morning just cuz I didn't want to miss anything. I've been hearing about the fact that the trailer would drop today, considering the fact that we get the first batch of tickets today. I actually already got my tickets right before the trailer was about to air. And yeah, I'm very excited. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm super, super excited. Like, I don't even know what to anticipate. And considering the fact that I already also got my Dune 3 tickets, thankfully, the times that they had available for Doomsday for the 17th, which because I'm seeing it on 17th, they thankfully had a 1 p.m. show. So that gives me enough time to go and see Avengers Doomsday at 1 p.m. and then go drive to the actual IMAX theater because I'm watching 70mm for Dune 3 that same day. And I have enough time in between to catch up on both films. So I'm going to have quite a day for December 17th. But right now, today's day is Doomsday. Today is Doomsday. And this is coming off days before San Diego Comic-Con. So I don't even want to wait any longer. Like, I've waited too much. So without further ado, let's get right down into watching the first official trailer for Avengers Doomsday.
Something's coming. Something we may not be able to deter.
Is that
Before
Robert?
this day is done, we shall be faced with an unthinkable decision.
Oh my god, that's the first look!
I've fought with many warriors in my time. They were far stronger than all of us put together. And they
Thor!
died.
Okay.
They died facing enemies and threats that scared me far less than this one.
Oh my
Everything they sacrifice will be for nothing.
Loki!
We do not stand together. Put aside your petty squabbles. And presume nothing except this. If you return, you will return as brothers and sisters. But mark my words. We're going to need a miracle.
Hey, pal.
It's not possible.
Oh man, I know I just woke up some people. I already got my tickets. So that was the Avengers Doomsday trailer, guys. Oh my god. Oh man, I do apologize because I'm pretty sure I may have just, killed a lot of people's ears. Yeah, I don't even know where to start because this is, of course, just a trailer. A first trailer. First trailers typically don't give you a whole lot when it comes to plot details. It's just more of like a first look of what to expect. One of the things I will say though is that watching this trailer, I think this is just about close to what was shown at Cinemark, at least from what I read from the descriptions, because there was a couple of scenes here where I was like, I remember reading this from the trailer descriptions, like the Shang-Chi versus Gambit, which we'll talk about in a second, but wow, like, I don't think I've ever felt like this before, like, not in a long time. Which is really insane because, like, I know when we have, us as movie fans and when it comes to this movie community, right, we've been very critical about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how Marvel Studios has been trying to deal with the aftermath of Endgame. And it's very understandable that, a lot of the quality may have diminished. A lot of that because of the fact that, they ended off, the Infinity Saga in such a high that there hasn't really been the same consistency in the last couple of years. Although we've been seeing an improvement, a lot of that also deals with a lot of factors, and it's not just simply because of the type of content that they've run, but it's also more so of other things in terms of like leadership and all that sort of stuff. And again, I'm not gonna go into that whole scenario, but generally speaking, yes, we've all been very I wouldn't say hesitant, very skeptical about the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general, let alone the fact that I think for a lot of us, just when it comes to Endgame, like I think there was a question of whether Endgame can really salvage what is left of the multiverse saga. And honestly, I think after watching this trailer and seeing what's been going on with the whole ticketing situation, I think it's safe to say that Doomsday is going to be a big ass movie. It's going to be a big ass movie. And I know I kind of went on a tangent, but let's talk about the trailer, because I think there's just so much to dissect. Now, I know we got a couple of like those mini teasers from earlier in the year with like, first look at the X-Men. So we had already seen Cyclops, Magneto, and Professor X earlier in the year. The fact that we get to see them come back one more time. Because, I mean, I think for a lot of us, I don't think a lot of us would have imagined that we were going to bring back the original X-Men cast, and yet here we are, like, they're going to be a key part of what is supposed to be this fight against Doomsday, who could literally break apart the multiverse, right? I think this is still related to the multiverse, because we were seeing, even the Fantastic Four involved, they're in a whole different dimension. So there's that. But also, we already knew about Chris Evans. That was also the biggest reveal out of all the 4 teasers, that Chris Evans was coming back as Captain America. And yeah, here it is. I'm still screaming. I'm still screaming. But let's talk about it just in a more sense. Now, one of the things that I think it was pretty clear is that the leader of the team was going to be the typical 3, or at least the 2 of the 3 typical mains. So Thor and Captain America from the looks of it. Now, this trailer does start off with Thor, because he's still, even though I don't know if, it's a little bit complicated, right? Because he's technically one of the OGs still left when it comes to just what is left of the original Avengers. I mean, that's not to say that, Bucky and Sam weren't there before, but I think when we are looking at like who were the biggest leads, of course Thor was the big one, and for him to be the one who is giving this forewarning to the new Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and being like, yo, this is like the biggest threat I've ever faced. And it sucks, because he's always the one who's facing the worst enemies first. Like, first he had to come up against Thanos back in Avengers Infinity War. He was the first one to counter him. And now here it is. He's now countering freaking Doctor Doom, played by Robert Downey Jr., by the way. And I gotta say that costume looks pretty solid. But the fact that Thor is the one who's having to come up against him first, I think that shows why Thor is still a very key member. I know, like, a lot of times when we are ranking like the original OG Avengers, like he's maybe like a 3 or 4 in a sense. Like for me, I would always say like Captain America we number 1, and then perhaps Tony Stark. But even then, I think this still shows that Thor is still a very essential character. And then, of course, we'll see what it means for him in the future. But let's talk about Doctor Doom, because I think that's like the one thing a lot of us were waiting to see is like, what is his costume going to look like? Let alone like, how will Robert Downey Jr. play off the character, because he does have certain traits I'm sure a lot of us were waiting on. One, we did get the costume design. Looks really solid. It looks like very metallic, as we also expected. But on top of that, well, first off, it is comic accurate. So the greens, we got to see more of the greens. I don't even remember if Julian McMahon had the same costume or even had the opportunity to have that kind of costume. I may have to look back, because I for all I remember, he just had the metal look. But I don't think he had like the iconic Greek costume that we saw here. I may have to look back. I might be wrong, but it's been a while since I watched the original, like the original ones with Chris Evans. Weirdly enough, but what I am very stunned to hear is the fact that we do hear the first few dialogues from Robert Downey Jr. himself, so we do get a sense of his accent, his Latvian accent. I think that was like the one thing a lot of us were very curious about. And I'm sure if there's one actor who's like who's probably able to do the job for that. It's gonna be Robert Downey Jr. He's done it before with Sherlock Holmes. I can't remember if no, I mean he played off a character in Tropic Thunder, so I guess that kind of helps him with like his dialect. So we do get a sense of like how he's going to speak in terms of being Doctor Doom. I'm still very curious about whether or not they're gonna ever reveal his face. That's gonna be the biggest question mark. I don't know if that's gonna be something they're gonna hold out to the end because for us as audiences, we know it's Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom, but from the character's perspective, they don't know it's Doctor Doom. Or they don't know that the face of Doctor Doom just happens to be the same face as Tony Stark yet. They don't know that yet. Or at least I imagine they don't know that yet. So oh wow, sorry. So that's gonna be the biggest question mark. So that will he ever reveal his face, and when and where, and if ever, right? I think that's like the biggest thing. If ever, like, are they even gonna plan on showing his like true face? So because like as I said, Thor is just fighting off somebody who's Doctor Doom that comes from a different universe, and that's it. He probably does not even know that this is a guy who shares the same face as one of his former Avengers colleague, Tony Stark. I don't think he knows that yet. So that's gonna be the biggest surprise. Like I wonder how they're gonna handle that, if they even do handle it. I don't think Spider-Man's in this movie from the looks of it. I think Tom Holland has been very clear about that. He's not in Doomsday. So but maybe perhaps he'll be in Secret Wars. I think that one's still filming at the moment. But yeah, so that's the big question mark going into Avengers Doomsday, is that are we gonna ever see, Robert Downey Jr.'s face? So there's that. Now let's talk about some of the sequences that we saw. We saw bits of the X-Men. We saw Cyclops coming into a room. So we got a little bit more Cyclops action. Let's talk about the Gambit versus Shang-Chi. That was the one that I remember reading a lot of people were talking about this back in CinemaCon, where there was a specific scene where Gambit and Shang-Chi are fighting each other. Now, we already knew that Channing Tatum was coming back as Gambit. That was something that they confirmed. We don't know how he survived, because, again, he was in the void. So, like, technically speaking, he was supposed to be, like, one of those forgotten characters or overlooked characters. But I guess because Deadpool did do a deal with the TVA that maybe they did something for Gambit. So maybe he is on the standard timeline. So but he's here now. We see Gambit. I wonder again if they're gonna try and handle that, like, or if that's just something that we got from Deadpool as like, ending thing. But he does fight off against Shang-Chi. It's so great to see Shang-Chi, because I know it's been 5 years since the first movie came out. We have still yet to have a sequel, even though that movie was absolutely like spectacular, and yet we've still had to get a sequel. Although Cranon is busy with Spider-Man Brand New Day, so hopefully maybe after that we'll see more of him. But then again, I think he's doing Secret Wars, so no, not Secret Wars. Yes? No, he's not doing Secret Wars. I think he was supposed to at some point. I have to double check my history because I'm kind of blanking out a little bit, but Crescent is dealing with Spider-Man, so, and I think he just finished, and then he also did Wonder Man, so he's been really busy. So the guy has been really busy. Hopefully we are going to see Shang-Chi too, because I think honestly this character really deserves like sequels. Like, that story was absolutely was like well done. But it's nice to see Shang-Chi's back. We get to see Liu's back. The fact that he's already back in action with the rings, because I feel like there's just been so many questions about the rings and the connection to the multiverse, or if there is any kind of connection to the multiverse. Because then again, we had Miss Marvel, and then there was a whole thing with that, with the bangles, and I think there's like a whole theory that the bangles and the 10 rings are connected, so that plays a big part in multiverse. And of course that was before the whole situation with Kong Dynasty and that being scrapped. There's been so much that's been done to kind of leverage a lot of situations that were changed in the process, so we don't know exactly like what's going to be handled. We don't even know if Iman Vellani is going to be back, because she has yet to be called as one of the returning stars, let alone we haven't heard about Brie Larson either, or I think maybe Monica Rambeau, but I have to go back. I think her mom, Maria Rambeau, might be back, but I don't know about Monica. So there's still probably a lot of stars that we don't even, like a lot of characters we don't even know that are returning, but will be returning. They haven't been revealed yet, at least not from that chair watch from last year. I don't know if you guys remember the chair watch. That was quite a thing. 5 hours, right? That 5-hour reveal for 20 cast members. But yeah, I'm just happy that we finally got to see Shang-Chi's back in action. Gambit is here, and so he's gonna be a crucial character. So we get to see more of Channing Tatum's weird accent, Cajun accent. What else do we remember? So of course a lot of, you know, stakes are high. We got to see Ant-Man's back, so it looks as though the Quantumania is gonna be still connected to the movie, even though a lot of us did not like Quantumania as a movie. I think if you check out my review, I absolutely was disappointed with that film. But it looks like so that Ant-Man is still a key part of the squad. We see the Wakandans are here. We see oh man, I forgot what Namor's species was, but I have to. It's been a while, guys. It's been such a long time since I've been watching this, but we do see Namor's back. Looks as though he's taken the throne, and looks like there's still some conflict. Question mark. So I gotta go back and see what's going on there. But it does seem so that Thor is kind of actively recruiting, which also makes me feel a little bit bad for Sam, because like, if you guys remember, Sam was supposed to have taken over, you know, the Avengers, you know, team. He was supposed to lead it. I think at some point he was kind of actively recruiting, and then we just never really heard about what happened from that point on. We did know that there is some feud between him and Bucky after, like, if you remember the Thunderbolts post credit, and it looks as though that the scene that we had at the end of Thunderbolts may be the same one that we're seeing here. Like, it's like the aftermath of what we saw in the trailer. So that looks like a scene that we're probably going to see again in the official movie, because like if you guys remember at the end of the post credits that the Fantastic Four were coming, because again, like Sue and Reed's son was, I'm going to assume, was taken by Doctor Doom. Like, we did see the part where Doctor Doom and Frank were kind of interacting, so I'm sure that has to play a big part of what's going on. I think there's a theory right now that Doctor Doom is basically like kidnapping all like kidnapping all the kids from like those who have a lot of superpowers, and I think that also puts Steve's baby at risk too. So maybe that's what's connecting all that. Again, that's a theory, but we don't know for sure. But that being the case, let's talk about the ending, right? I mean, I'm a huge Captain America fan, or at least I'll say I'm a huge Steve Rogers fan. And, you know, this is a character that, and I'm going to be forthright about this and say that, you know, it took me a while to like Steve Rogers as a character. I think when the first movie came out, I thought he was alright. He wasn't my favorite Avengers at that point. But then I think right after Winter Soldier, like the whole perspective about him changed overnight. Like he became one of my top Avengers. Let alone, if you guys don't remember, Winter Soldier is still one of my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So, and then from there on, like Captain America just continued to be this really great in-depth character, had some really great story arcs. I mean, we saw that with Civil War. And so to see him come back, and not only that, but then to hold on to Mjolnir, knowing that he's still worthy. I still remember, and here's the thing, I'm gonna go a little bit on like a memory, going back to memory lane, in the fact that back when I saw Avengers Endgame, right before I actually even watched it, by the way, I think I was rewatching some of the movies ahead of time just to kind of keep things fresh, just to kind of remember, okay, this happened, maybe this might be important. I think right before I went to go see Avengers Endgame, I actually had watched Age of Ultron. I was watching Age of Ultron. I was like, I think Age of Ultron is gonna be a pretty important movie, so let's watch it. And you know, and there's of course that famous scene where Thor is trying to get everyone to test if they're worthy, having everyone try to pull Mjolnir, and then of course there's that one moment where Steve Rogers was able to slide it a little bit, but didn't get to pull it up. But we did see Thor get a little nervous, right? He's like, uh-oh, he might get it. And then of course he was relieved that he didn't pull it up, because I'm sure because a lot of that had to deal with whether he wasn't worthy yet. Like, of course, he was holding that secret about Bucky by that point, so maybe that played a part. But of course, like when it came to Endgame, like when I saw, let me just say, when I saw that Mjolnir was being risen, I was like, Thor's gonna save himself. And then just to see it go, it hits, you know, Thanos, but then it boomerangs back, passes by Thor, only to then land on freaking Steve Rogers, freaking Captain America's hands. I literally lost my shit. I remember losing my shit. I was like, I was like, oh my god, what am I watching? Yeah, those, I mean, I swear to God, I think we all have our own memories about Infinity War with Endgame. I mean, Endgame was just quite a cinematic experience, and I think this trailer just may have hinted the fact that I'm going to expect a lot of screams, a lot of cheers, a lot of emotions. So yeah, I think the fact that this trailer has done exactly that makes me a little bit more relieved about the fact that Doomsday is coming out. That even though with some of the issues that have happened in the last couple of years, last couple of movies, although the last few movies have been a little bit of improvement, of course, in terms of quality, that doesn't take away the fact that I think after watching this, I'm a little bit more confident with this film now, and that I'm so happy that I got like the first showing of the day. I think the 1 p.m. So, and I've never done that before. Or actually, I take that back. I just did with the Odyssey. So, and I've yet to do the Odyssey review. So, which I thought I was going to do today. So, but that being the case, wow, I am just absolutely stunned. Again, I'm so sorry that I may have just killed a lot of your ears. I'm going to try and put a warning. But wow. I don't even know what to say. I'm so speechless. I'm so happy that this is better than I anticipated. But yeah, I've given my thoughts about Avengers Doomsday. I don't want to start rambling on too lot and any longer, but we've got the first long ass trailer for Avengers Doomsday. I want to know your thoughts. What do you think, having now seen the first footage? We finally got the first look at Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom. What do you think about the design? What do you think about the accent? We do hear him in the trailer. What do you think about the threat level? Do you think he's threatening enough? We see Thor's going to be a key member when it comes to, recruiting the Avengers. Will he be able to do this by himself? Or at some point, are we going to get Robert Downey Jr.'s face reveal at some point in the movie? What do you think about some of the reveals so far? The X-Men is back. What do you think about the fact that we get to see Cyclops in his iconic costume? We got to see Professor X and Magneto. We do get a first look at Mystique right here. She's transforming to the Yelena. So there's that. Of course, Gambit versus Shang-Chi. Are excited about that because I don't think a lot of us would anticipate that this was going to happen. What do you think is probably going to be leading up to the fact that Doomsday is just coming out of nowhere? We know he's going to be a key part of the multiverse, but what is his mission? What is his intent? And then what do you think about the fact that not only is Chris Evans back, but he is now holding Mjolnir once more? And of course, what led him to be called back to action once again? Let me know your thoughts below. Make sure to like and subscribe.